in the world, there would be a lot less homeless. So that's the third. The fourth is doing something that Jesus Christ ordained for us to do and did himself, and that is fasting. Now, our fast is the same as the fast that was prescribed for those before us. It is a fast from daybreak, just before when the first light of the sun appears, until sunset. And you don't eat anything, you don't drink anything, smoking doesn't go on, sex is out of the question during the day. And you tell some people this, and they say, "Oh, jeez, that's easy, that's not hard. I mean, I thought it was like day after day after day." No, that's harmful, and that's forbidden, because God does not want us to hurt ourselves with following our religion. So the fast causes you, when you have a little hunger in your stomach, to have a little bit more awareness of those people down the street that don't have anything. And you learn in Islam that if I go to bed and my stomach is full and my neighbors are hungry, I have committed a very grave sin. You're responsible to know those around you. And God Almighty doesn't say to look for the Muslims up and down the street. He said, and Muhammad gave the example, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the one whose gate is closest to yours, the one who lives closest to you, is the one most worthy of your kindness and your goodness. And in America, we live right with people of other faiths all the time. And there's not a conflict in that at all. I have never found a conflict in that. So these are four of the major canons of Islam. And the last is that provided that an individual is debt-free and has the ability to do so, they make the pilgrimage to Mecca. And this is an experience of a lifetime where an individual, having completed all of the requirements, will have walked in the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad, will have seen firsthand the areas of the world where he lived, where he taught, where he tried to do God's bidding in his life, in that area of the country, and of the world, I should say. And this is a lasting impression that it has. Those are the 5 elemental canons of Islam. And a Muslim is required to believe other things as well. So when somebody says to you, "What do you believe?" I don't tell them those things necessarily. Those are the things that we do. That's what makes a Muslim. But it is more than that as well.
Jim, would you like to tell us about, for sure you have read so deeply about Islam, regarding the conception of Akhirah, or the Day of Judgment?
Okay. I think that everybody who believes in God believes that there's got to be some kind of a reckoning at some point. And the reckoning is, in other words, taking an account for what we've done. All right, you've lived your life for a period of time, and you've done these things. Now let's weigh the evidence of your life against the criterion that God has established for us. And it says in the Quran, not an atom's weight of good, not an atom's weight of evil will be left out. A man came to Prophet Muhammad and said, what do I have to do to attain paradise? And he said, "Bear witness that there is no God but one God, and that I am the messenger of God." And the man walked away, and he said, "This is exactly what I'll do and nothing more." And his companions said to Prophet Muhammad, he said, "What about the prayer? What about fasting? What about these other things?" He said, "If he has this and means it in his heart, he will have paradise." Understanding that all these other things would come because of the willingness to try to please God. I'm drawing a blank now. Go ahead again and ask another question,
well,
please.
I may add here, regarding the same conception of the Day of Judgment,
Okay.
that during the early days of Prophet Muhammad's preaching, he addressed his closely relatives, and he addressed his daughter Fatima, saying, "O Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, you have to work for yourself. Don't think that Muhammad your father is a prophet of God and he is going to save you from God the Almighty. No. Only it is your deeds who are going to save you from the punishment or from the punishment of God the Almighty at the Day of Judgment. And he also addressed all his close relatives, and he made it clear that no person can bear the sins of another person. If I sin, you will not be punished on behalf of my sins. Or if you do good, I won't be rewarded for your good. You would be rewarded for your goods, and I would be rewarded for my goods, and he would be, if he, God forbid, sins, he would be punished for his sins. So this is a clear concept of the Day of Judgment, that every one of us would be held responsible for his deeds before God the Almighty at the Day of Judgment.
In line with that also, brother, let me also state that there is an element of three entities of human beings. One is the physical being. One is the spiritual being, which we all understand. And the third is the self. And this is the least understood. We know we have a physical being, and we know we have a spiritual being. And the spiritual being remains whatever it was without, if you lose a leg, or if you lose this, or even if you lose your body, the spiritual element remains. But the self is what is going through this worldly experience in order to manifest later on, after judgment, the pain or suffering that we will go through for eternity, God forbid, or the bliss that we will go through for eternity.
When you embraced Islam, or sometimes during the last 30-some years, what's been the hardest thing for you to change in yourself?
Oh, I'm still trying to do that.
You're still trying to do that. You're working on it.
And if I reveal that, then everybody's going to know. The hardest thing to change has been to understand a sense of humility about myself. I mean, being in the military, and I have never been around one of the particular communities within the Navy. I've been in the submarine community, and there's a major effort on teamwork. So no one individual gets to the point where they think that the entire mission revolves around them. But there are other communities where, in small numbers, like I don't want to mention Navy SEALs. I guess I did, didn't I? They have to rely on one another, and they become singularly very important in mission accomplishment. I have always been an individual who's tried to be a team player, but losing that sense of humility, losing that sense of everything is important and revolves around me, it has to be solved right here and right now. It kind of goes against to teaching that you understand from Navy leadership or some other leadership venues that you learn in business or industry in the United States. But if you have about you a sense of humility and a good sense of human beings, you can much better counsel people with problems that they have. You can be more compassionate in your family. You can better guide your kids to better grades. When you understand that people need two things, actually the leader needs to assess two things in people, I should say. One is their commitment, and one is their competence. We all have a degree of commitment, but some have more and some have less. And those individuals who are better leaders are people who are able to open that valve on the individual to increase their motivation. But you can't do that if you're not in a position of humility. So losing this humility was one of the biggest things that I have tried to do, and I'm still trying to do it in my life.
Thank you so much, Jim. I think we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank you again for joining us. Hafiz Malik, thank you so much for joining us. And we indeed want to thank our viewers for joining us. We hope to see you again next week at the same time. May God Almighty guide us all. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.
حي على الفلاح